What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA strategy show presented by No House Advantage. I'm not sure about this, Josh, but it could be the last one you and I are doing this season. It's certainly the last one of the regular season we're doing. I'm Dave Loughran at Lafay_D on Twitter. Hit me up, and while you're over there, follow my guy Josh Engleman at Josh Engleman. Also, check out his process show 5 days a week, 6:30 in the morning, and all of his contenders videos that he pours his blood, sweat, and tears into. We're going to do a lot of pouring blood, sweat, and tears into this one for an 8-gamer, Josh, because it's just out of control.
Yeah, I'm going to want to pour bleach down my throat by the time we get through this one. This is going to be a crapshoot. I already went through this slate once today and found out that I was wrong on like 3 separate teams in an hour and a half after that, and got DMs and stuff about it. I don't know what the plan's going to be for NBA content heading into the playoffs right now. Like, if the strategy show sticks around, I hope that it's you and I. If it doesn't stick around, I assume that I am going to be the de facto strategy show running process shows until I can't run them anymore and we run out of stuff to talk about. But either way, I'm not going anywhere for the NBA.
Yeah, apparently I'm not either. Figured that out yesterday after thinking that I was. But deeper dive for the NBA playoffs is actually staying intact for at least the first round.
Makes sense. I mean, those slates are pretty big. There's certainly enough to talk about. And I don't know. It's more fun than talking about baseball.
It sure is. You know, some people don't like it. They'd rather us switch over to baseball. And I do truly understand that. But the honest to God truth is just basketball, even in the postseason, is still vastly bigger than baseball. Yeah. And that's just the way it is. Like, more people want to watch basketball shows. More people play DFS basketball. You know, that's the way, like, let me tell you this much. If football was going on right now, I would definitely be doing football shows.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it.
You know, but
I would obviously still want to do basketball.
Right, of course. But, like, just to give you an idea of how big basketball shows are, when we're doing football and it's a normal season, unlike this one, this was beautiful, right? Like, this is a DFS content provider's dream, the schedule that we've had this year, because you get football. And then you had basketball start around Christmas when the NFL season's almost over. You couldn't ask for more than that. But back before this, when we're doing daily football shows, I can tell you for sure that once basketball season started in late October, the NFL views take a sizable hit, because people just love NBA DFS.
Yeah, I'm shocked that we don't want to just transition to baseball. Currently posting the slash line of 234, 311, 390. Yes, that league average 390 slugging so far in MLB. That's definitely what I want to cover.
Yeah, what the hell's going on, man? There's no juiced baseballs anymore and all of that stuff. I mean, we
need juiced human beings again, man. That was way more fun.
It was. I have my own theories on that, or my own opinions on juicing. I think, like, you're for it, right?
I wish they would do it as they got in the batter's box.
So just rip one into their glute.
Yeah, just the umpire is just wearing like a tactical belt filled with needles. And every time somebody gets in, he just lights them up in the ass and we go about our day.
Yeah, here you go, Miggy. So the only issue I have with it is it destroys your body over time, causes long-standing depression. So if there's people that don't want to deal with those side effects at 50 years old with a family, I think it's kind of messed up that there are other people that are willing to risk that. And then it like, before I was very pro steroids. I thought, give me the Maguire Sosa battle, right? Give me Barry Bonds 480 home runs in the first half of a season, all of that great stuff. But I did think about it a little bit more, just some reflecting, and it does kind of screw people that don't want to destroy their bodies and puts them in a bad spot.
You don't have to destroy your body. I mean, you could destroy it with beers or cigarettes or cheeseburgers. Like, it's, everything in moderation, I guess. Steroids aren't the same as they were in 1982.
No, they're very likely stronger and less detectable now.
I hope so. Look, something's got to make baseball more interesting, and whatever they're doing now is definitely not the right direction. They instead of They're zigging when everybody else is zagging. Everybody else, NFL, NBA, we're opening up a little bit more. Offense is the premier driver, and those two sports are incredibly popular. And baseball is like, you know what we need? We need everyone to suck.
We need less hits.
Yeah. Less. You know what's really cool? When no one moves for 6 straight batters.
How many games have you watched this year?
0.
Really?
I would have a lot of trouble naming like more than 2 people on every single team.
Yeah. The amazing thing is though, the moment you dive back into it, you're right there. Like, I'm not saying you're going to start watching games again, but no. I can tell you from a researching standpoint, from jumping back into it to providing content, I'll know every player on every team after, a day or two of just diving back into it, setting everything back up. But yeah, right at this point, I'm a Phillies fan. I was listening on the way home from my hockey game the other day, and they mentioned the player, and I was like, I didn't know he was there.
Yeah. I don't know who's good. I don't know who's bad. Like, I'm looking at the standings right now. I don't even know what stands out to me as problematic.
Yeah. Like Kyle Schwarber's on the Washington Nationals.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. Now you do.
Look, and I hope that I forget that immediately.
I can tell you this much though: when basketball is this insane at this time of year, there's no time to look into baseball. But we will, especially once the regular.
I didn't realize they've played 40 games in baseball. Yeah. Some teams have played 40 games in baseball.
Yeah, we're like a month and a half into it. But
the Mets have played 31.
I know, because of COVID. Once regular season ends for basketball and you don't have to worry about all this nonsense, it'll become a little bit easier. But anyway.
It's weird, though, because I'll watch like 5 times more basketball because playoff basketball is exceptional. So like I'm way more interested in watching the product once we get there. And then I don't have to worry about the transactional nature of NBA where it's just like, who's on what team? They signed who to a 10-day? Who's in or out? Like if everybody is like everybody just plays in the playoffs. It's great.
It becomes more like entertainment. I said this to Adam the other day and he didn't remember. Maybe you'll remember. And this will be a good segue to jump into this show and hit on these 8 games. Happy to have all of you guys with us too. Hit that thumbs up. It should be the first thing you do when you jump in here. This is it. We're coming to the end of the road for the regular season. Who knows? Maybe Josh and I'll be together on the other side of the week. We'll find out. But if not, hit that thumbs up anyway. Subscribe to the channel. Help us get to that 60K mark and continue to grow as the largest DFS channel on the YouTubes. Boy, that feels good. Subscribe and hit that notification bell. And if you want to join as a YouTube member, hit that join below. It's $2.99. I say it all the time. You don't want to, it doesn't matter to me. I think it's fun having the badges and having the people in chat and being able to use those emojis that we customize for all of us that are members. But, no harm, no foul. More importantly, hit that subscribe button and the thumbs up. What I was going to say, though, is do you remember a few years ago, I'm going to say like 4 years ago, where DraftKings had the playoff basketball contest, and every day they didn't change salaries? I mean, maybe it was 5 or 6 years ago, but they did not change salaries. And if they did, it was by like $100. And you would essentially just go in and you'd run, if you wanted to, the same lineup you ran the 2 days before that and 2 days before that.
I don't remember it, but I've smoked away a lot of memories as of late.
But you believe me.
Yeah. I have no reason not to. It'd be a really weird thing for you to lie about.
It would certainly be weird for me. I remember weird things about that, like when Larry Sanders was stuck at minimum salary for 3 straight weeks.
Nothing, man. Nothing.
That was probably 7 years ago now.
Oh, maybe yeah. That's like 2014 type shit.
Yeah. I got to stick within like the 2 year window range for you.
Yeah. What is it? So like you normally keep records for 7 years or something like that. That's how long things stay on your credit report. That's how long things stay in my brain. Otherwise they're gone, man.
All right, ready?
I've purged those files.
Real quick. What'd you have for lunch yesterday?
I don't remember. I had a salad. I had salad.
Oh, so did I. I had a chicken Caesar salad, as a matter of fact. What'd you have for dinner?
KD wasn't here and I didn't feel like cooking, so I made a sandwich.
Okay, what kind?
Roast beef and cheddar.
Nice.
With some horseradish sauce.
Cold roast beef?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Good stuff.
I'm a big fan of the hot roast beef, though.
Yeah. I put enough horseradish on to flare my stuff up, man. Like I'll clear myself out real quick.
I have 2 different bottles of 2 different kinds of horseradish sauce that went on that sandwich yesterday. And I put more on every layer. So it's on both sides of the bread, 1 piece of roast beef. Then I drizzle more horseradish sauce. Then a piece of cheese. Then I drizzle more horseradish sauce. Then another piece of roast beef, more horseradish sauce, cheese, sauce, roast beef, sauce, potato chips, sauce.
You put the chips on the sandwich?
You gotta, man. You need that texture, that crunch, because I don't put like vegetables and shit on sandwiches. That's disgusting. Most people would get that crunch from like onions or lettuce. I want it from straight fried potatoes.
Pure violation that you use horseradish sauce and not horseradish. I get that it's convenient, but that's a violation.
Oh no, man. The horseradish sandwich spread. Incredible.
I've tried it. It's good, but real horseradish, like the real deal, would spread it on. Oh my God.
So that is what I would want on a hot roast beef sandwich.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good point. Yeah. The hot roast beef, if you go with the spread or with just like a horseradish sauce, you can't do that.
Dip that into some jus.
Yes. And then, you're in business. Ready to do this?
I'm ready to go eat a sandwich, man.
Me too. I'm hungry now. Cleveland and Washington. Okay, good. 10-12. That's not bad. We're okay. We're all right. Cleveland and Washington. Cavaliers, 8.5-point dogs, 227.5 total. Darius Garland, Cedi Osman, questionable for this one. Kevin Love coming off a huge game, really just out of nowhere, Josh. He'd been doing Kevin Love things recently and then rips off 59 fantasy points with a 30-14 double-double, shoots 6 of 9 for 3 in 34 minutes against Boston, of all teams. I still look at him as somebody that it's probably not a key player today, but then I go and I see ownership, and Kevin Love is getting some attention here against the Wizards. And, well, anytime you're facing the Wizards, somebody's going to be in play.
Yeah, the Wizards matchup certainly helps. The status of Cedi and Darius Garland will be very important because we're talking about, 60 minutes that need to be reallocated. I assume Love plays somewhere around 29. And, if he wants to shoot against the Wizards team, that probably goes well. There's extra possessions. So much of this depends on the Garland news. Like, we've got Colin Sexton at 7,800 on FanDuel, projected for 29% ownership right now. I have Garland in. I have no concept if these guys are going to play or not. It's a sprained ankle. He appears to be okay. I don't see why they would just put him on ice, but they could. So I have everybody in, at which point I think Kevin Love and Jared Allen on DraftKings are the 2 best plays. That is bared out in the ownership. They are the 2 highest owned guys as well. But if Colin Sexton's 30% owned, I would just rather have less Colin Sexton. So to me, he's like a 10 to 15%er, not a 30%er.
He is someone who, in your opinion, is a bench player at best on a decent team, correct?
He is definitely not a starter in the NBA.
Could he be a 6-man on a top 3 team in either conference?
Yeah, I mean, he could be like a Lou Will in the future. I don't think that's crazy. 29% usage this year, 115 points per 100 possessions for a shot attempt. So we're talking, like a pretty nice true shooting, but he's small. He's terrible on defense. And I don't really see what his future is if he's never involving anybody else on the team. To me, his future is like a bench guard. All right. But look, that's a career, man. Jordan Clarkson, Lou Will, like that becomes valuable. I don't think that he could ever be. I don't see a scenario where he's the guy you want using 29% of your possessions in a starting lineup.
No, but if he plays 25 minutes off the bench, 13 minutes a half, it's actually not. I think he could actually thrive in a situation like that on a good team for sure.
Yeah, and he's not going to have that situation. Like, he's just going to be thrown to the wolves for 2 more years on a garbage Cleveland team. That's not going to be helpful.
Yeah, it kind of sucks, as a matter of fact. But he has seen his assist totals shoot up recently, and some of that, actually, Josh, I would imagine much of that has to do with Darius Garland's absence. So you're at least getting some better peripherals from him. It's just a matter of the price point. Like, if Colin Sexton was a little bit cheaper, or not even that on FanDuel, because I think 7,800 is fine, but 30% coming in as the fourth highest owned player right now. That's the tough part for me on a guy that, like you said, relies heavily on scoring, even though his peripherals have looked better lately. If it was 12% Colin Sexton, I'd actually probably like him quite a bit at 7,800, but that's not the case.
Yeah, we're on the exact same page there. And if Garland's playing, I will prefer Garland to Sexton if he is in, but I won't have any real thoughts on this entire team.
I believe we have Garland out right now, but
I don't know how true that is.
Okay, well, he's at 0.1. Generally speaking, against Washington, I would assume he'd get a little bit more than that if he was in.
I think we have him projected for 20 minutes because he's projected for like 18 fantasy points.
Okay. So we have, okay.
That's why we have him in for 19 minutes.
Okay. All right. What about the front court? Kevin Love, like I said, really big game last time out. We touched on this a little bit, but Jared Allen, 32 minutes in back-to-back games, but man, he has just been wildly underwhelming.
0.92 FanDuel points per minute over the past 30 days for Jared Allen. That is not going to get it done. But at the same time, 6,200 and 6,100 against Washington. I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up having a game that you're looking for. Like, can he go for 40 in 32 minutes against Washington? Absolutely. Yep. That's not great. And if he goes for 40 at those price tags, you're probably pretty happy about it. So I actually do like getting to Jared Allen.
And he's only pulling 9% on FanDuel. So it's not like he's chalk at that price.
No, to me, he's the best option on Cleveland, the guy that I feel most comfortable with right now. And that comfortable level goes up a little bit if we do see Garland and Osman out.
I'm kind of fascinated by the ownership here, though. I mean, Kevin Love, 6,500, 7%. Jared Allen, 6,200, 9%. Of course, ownership is in flux throughout the day. As news comes in, things will always change, especially this late in the season. But, the truth be told, if more news comes out on other teams, these guys could be even less owned. So, I'm at least willing to take some shots on these type of guys because it is a great matchup. It's still the fastest paced team in the league. It's still one of the worst defenses in the league. I think there's at least upside here, Josh, is the way I would put it.
Yeah. The problem and what you'll see on days like this for guys that are in this like high 5s, 6s area is that we have infinite value. There's no situation where you can't get the guys that you want today. You have all the money in the world. So you naturally end up getting this like giant stars and scrubs situation where it's really easy to get Russ and Curry and Jokic and then pay down with 4 or 5 other guys that are all like 3,800, which leaves that mid-tier wide open to try to pick off individual value spots.
Agreed. But I do think oftentimes, right, building a lot of stars and scrubs lineups myself, if you were to have a Westbrook and he's expensive again today, and a Doncic, let's just say that doesn't leave you with much at all. You go down into that 3K range. A lot of times those lineups do leave you with like one spot where it's in that 5 to 6K range. So, I'm not saying it happens tonight. I haven't built any lineups, but oftentimes you might have that one spot in the stars and scrubs where you get 3-4 really cheap guys. You got 2 really expensive guys, and then you have to fill it in with one of those lower mid-range players. So I don't think it's impossible.
No, I like doing that. The problem lies in that the pay up options are obvious because you'll always pay up for studs.
Right.
And the pay down options are obvious because they are the guys that are probably the best point per dollar plays.
Kind of no man's land.
Yeah, you're picking out of a pool of like 30,6K guys.
Yes, exactly.
Not 36K guys. That would be not a thing.
That would be outrageous. Yes. Russell Westbrook is 12-8 now on DraftKings. They got the memo, I assume, Josh. A little late, but I guess better late than never. 12-5 on FanDuel. I have no problem giving you guys our ownership projections early in the morning. I'd love for you to become subscribers at Awesemo, follow along yourself, and really take full advantage of it. But, we always throw it out there because I think if we're putting out free content, we want it to be good and we want it to be actually helpful. So this is one way to do it so you know what we're referencing. He's 65% on FanDuel, and even at 12-8 on DraftKings, given this value that you just referenced right now, 52.8% at 12,800. As I said the other day, it just exemplifies very much how underpriced he was at $11,000.
He was my number one contender on both FanDuel and DraftKings today.
Crazy.
Yeah, look, they need this game. They can still finish in the 8th seed, which is incredibly massive. That gives you some wiggle room if you happen to lose that first one. Russ is going to play 40 minutes at 1.6 fantasy points per minute. There's still no Beal. I want all of the Russ. He, to me, is the unquestioned best play on this slate. To me, he showed up in the optimal lineup for me 58% of the time on FanDuel. So right there with the ownership. And that was with me projecting Memphis and Golden State like they were playing all their studs. That's going to go up to like 65, 70 once I get Curry out of there.
Amazing.
Just play him. Just play him.
He's averaging 72.4 DraftKings points per game over his last 10. Like, it's just play him, like you said. There's nothing else that needs to go into this. Bradley Beal's out.
Yep.
They're facing Cleveland. It's funny too, because Cleveland's the only team that he's finished with like less than 60 fantasy points against over his last 15, I think. And those were 2 games against Cleveland that happened. Can't say I'm worried.
He's played 17 games in the past 30 days. He's averaged 63.9 on DraftKings. Only 1 game is sub 40 and only 2 are sub 50.
And those 2 are Cleveland.
Cleveland on April 30th. Cleveland on April 25th.
Yep. Pretty crazy, right? Cleveland.
It is. And he played 36 and 31 minutes in both of those.
Yep. Anything else for Washington not named Russell Westbrook?
Not really. We've got Bertans and Ish Smith picking up like 10 to 15% ownership. I don't mind getting to Bertans. Obviously, I'm sure you don't either. But his price is now up on FanDuel at 4,400. So maybe a little $5,500 Rui. Not the craziest thing in the world, but this is the Russell Westbrook show. Just go ahead and play him. I've got him projected for 28.5 points, 13 boards, 12 assists, and 2 stocks.
Wow.
It's comical.
Yeah. Jason says, Laffy, you sharpen that razor for that clean shave on Friday. Josh, you should shave and just leave the mustache for money. He did that already. I'm not going to.
Been down that road.
No pressure there. But Monday, you'll see it. I'll look like a buffoon, but here we are. Denver and Detroit. Denver Nuggets, 9.5-point favorites, 218.5 total. This is a 10-point spread in some places, which means, Josh, that would make 5 games on an 8-game slate with double-digit spreads. Let that sink in, fellas. So Will Barton's, I'm just assuming he's out again. I don't think he plays again for the rest of the regular season. PJ Dozier, we know, is out an extended period of time. So par for the course here. We know what we're getting with Denver. They are, however, playing their second of a back-to-back on the road, going from Minnesota to Detroit. And Nikola Jokic coming off a 31-14 game last time out. Josh, he played only 32 minutes yesterday in that 11-point win. I'm assuming he's good to go here. The only issue I have, and I do think it's an issue, is even on the road, even without Jamal Murray, and how do they not beat the shit out of this Detroit team that's down 5 key rotation players?
Are you trying to tell me that you don't think Jahlil Okafor can guard Nikola Jokic? Is that what you're trying to say? I don't want to live in that world.
I've watched a lot of Jahlil Okafor in my day, and I can assure you he has no shot of even, there's a difference between guarding and just being able to maybe mildly slow somebody down, Yeah. But I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think
maybe better off playing a Mecha Okafor tonight to try to slow him down.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I don't think there's any possible way that Jokic doesn't crush him. Jokic could honestly have 70 in 3 quarters, and I wouldn't be shocked at all. We saw Sabonis do it. We've seen Westbrook do it. This is all very recently, So do you think it's worthwhile getting the Jokic today?
So I tried to be kind of pessimistic on the minutes. I gave Jokic 32.
What if it wasn't the second of a back-to-back? Because I think that's pretty impactful going into the end of the season.
So I don't think that matters at all.
Really?
Detroit sucks, full stop. Denver wants to win the game because they still have an opportunity to get to the 3 seed. Yep. So I think the first half looks like a normal Denver first half, and he gets just normal run. My assumption is that they just beat the brakes out of Detroit because Detroit's truly terrible and Denver isn't. Like Michael Porter Jr. is going to be playing in this one. He sat out the front end for rest. Monty Morris is going to be playing in this one. He also sat out the front end for rest. Denver should just handle this game. It matters. Nothing matters for Detroit. But I am trying to be at least a little bit lighter on the minutes because I don't want to say that I'm expecting the blowout, but I just have a hard time thinking that Nikola Jokic gets the full allotment of minutes in this one. So 32 minutes, to me, I still like him, but I do want to treat him at least a little bit with kid gloves. We've got him for 29% ownership on FanDuel. At 10-6, that kind of scares me. At 11K, at 26% ownership, that also scares me. But the guy that I do like a ton is Michael Porter Jr. 7,600 on FanDuel. We only have him at 22% ownership. At small forward, I have him in the optimal lineup 40% of the time. I would love to have a ton of Michael Porter. Same story on DraftKings. Even though he's 8,700, he's 2% owned. If Denver blows out Detroit as I expect, somebody's got to do it. I don't mind paying up for Porter in that spot if he's picking up no ownership. I'm good to go the rest of the way. Aaron Gordon still sub 4K on FanDuel, works as a value play, but Porter is the only guy that I'm really paying attention to on Denver.
Porter's wildly overpriced on DraftKings, though. Would you disagree with that? I can make a very good argument for why he's overpriced. He doesn't have a ceiling of a 9K player.
Do I think that he's overpriced? Yes. I don't think it's as crazy as it seems. I have Porter in the optimal lineup on DraftKings more frequently than anybody on Denver.
Okay. I don't see him as somebody that, if Porter gets you 50, you're feeling really good. And I wouldn't be feeling really good at 8,700. But what I mean is he's a really good scorer. The peripherals are just so lacking from night to night that you need kind of the trifecta from him tonight. You need the minutes against a bad team where they're 2 touchdown favorites on a back-to-back. You need him to score as he's been doing, as efficiently as he's been doing with that same shot volume. And you need him to give enough peripherals unless he's scoring 50 actual points. I think 77 or 76 or whatever it is on FanDuel is really nice. 87 to me is pretty restrictive on DraftKings.
I have him with a 14% chance of going for north of 50. So, but to me, that's not too crazy. And I agree with what you're saying. I do think he should be a couple $100 cheaper. The fact that we have him projected for 2% ownership is the real appeal to me. Because if he was 10 to 12% owned, then it wouldn't be all that interesting. Yeah. But as a contrarian option, even if maybe Jokic just wants to take it a little bit easy and be the passive scoring Jokic we've seen happen, where he's just dropping dimes all over the place. Porter can be the guy that gets a lot of that effect. He'll happily take the shots.
He's gone over 50 3 times this season. That's 5% of the games that he's played.
And he's playing a lot more now than he was earlier in the season. So I think if you pulled that up, that'll be somewhere in that 10% range. Yeah,
I was going to say, I won't take away from the fact that since Jamal Murray's been out, he has, I believe, 1 or 2 of those games. So, I'm not saying he's bad. I just think 8,700 is a lot. But it also kind of speaks to what you're talking about with stars and scrubs too. 8,700 could be tough to get to when you're paying up for a Westbrook and Doncic lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, he's the perfect. He would be the guy that we would see show up in a lineup at 3% ownership on lineup study tomorrow morning and be like, oh yeah, Michael Porter Jr. went for 50 and he became the key for everybody else because he was unowned.
Yeah, for sure. Detroit, no Jeremy Grant, no Isaiah Stewart, no Mason Plumlee, no Corey Joseph, no Frank Jackson, no Wayne Ellington. I mean, my God, this is out of control. I said 5, but you actually have 6 here, right? So now Stewart joins them on the sidelines. Frank Jackson remains out. I'm so tired of looking at this team, Josh. We have to start in the front court with Okafor and Tyler Cook and try and figure this one out. But one of these guys probably has a decent game tonight just based on where they play and based on the fact that they're dirt cheap.
So they have 9 active bodies if Hamidou Diallo is able to play today. He's been out with health and safety protocols. 8 if he doesn't. I have Jahlil Okafor as my assumed starter. He's 3,600 on FanDuel. He is 3,200 on DraftKings. I like him a lot more on DK. On FanDuel, I think the opportunity cost is too high. And he's not very good anymore. I gave him 26 minutes. I gave Tyler Cook the backup run at 22. So I prefer getting to Okafor on DraftKings. He's not someone I'm going to be looking to on FanDuel. FanDuel options for me are Sadiq Bey, who continues to play like 36 minutes a game. Josh Jackson is 4,400 on FanDuel, 6K on DK. Very different plays on both of those sites. I like him more on FanDuel. No concept of how many minutes he plays. If Hamidou Diallo is out, I think Josh Jackson becomes very reasonable chalk. None of the guys that I have projected for Detroit are north of a fantasy point per minute guys in my model, just in general. None of them are north of a fantasy point per minute over the past 30 days. Saban Lee, the only guy north of 0.9. This entire team just sucks. And yet they're going to get owned because there's a pretty decent chance that only 8 of them can play today. So Saban Lee, I guess, is the guy that we need to talk about. He's 4K on DraftKings. We have him projected for 25% ownership. Had a pretty big day the last time out. I'm not entirely sure that I'm interested in Saban Lee unless Hamidou Diallo is out.
Okay. I think that's pretty reasonable, actually. A couple things from chat. We had a super chat from Smokey D303. Thanks, brother. Nice, a hefty one. He says, hey, guys, thanks for the daily insight and helping people like me find a way to take down a GPP. Got second in EPE. What's EPE, Josh?
It's the contest where like no one that has played a lot can get into them. Excluding player, it excludes everybody. Like you can only play them for like the first 50 contests you enter or something like that on FanDuel.
Well, that's pretty cool. You got second in that relatively new player, it sounds like.
Yeah, has to be.
Awesome. What does EPE stand for?
So, excluded player or something.
Oh, okay. Excluded player exclusive.
Yeah, it's been 8 years since I've been able to get into those contests, so the terminology is lost on me.
Okay, yeah, I honestly didn't know what it was. I wasn't sure if you meant EPL, and I was like, well, you're thanking the wrong guy. But congrats, man, and thanks for the super chat. Appreciate that support. Someone else said that Jokic isn't going to sit because he's going for the MVP and he hasn't missed a game. I actually agree with you on that. That if you gotten this far, you play 82 games, even if you start and play a rotation in the 82nd game.
Yeah, he's playing the full season. Yeah, I would be shocked.
But that doesn't
Nikola Jokic is one of the few guys in the league where I don't think that he gives a single shit about those accolades. That dude doesn't care about any of it. So he could very easily sit and he'll just be like, yeah, whatever.
Who, Jokic, you think?
Yeah.
I think he's there though. He's there.
Oh, I would want him to be like, I think he will want to. But of all the guys in the NBA, like
he won't be beaten up over it. Yeah.
He's not a media guy.
For sure. Now, Orlando and Philadelphia, another game with a huge spread, 14 points, 217 total. The Sixers based just on the spread yesterday. That told you a lot, right? It was still, I think it's still closed around 2.5 as them 2.5 point dogs with Joel Embiid in, unless you saw a change. I thought it stayed right around there. They lost. They were down by 20 plus at one point.
That was bad.
It was bad. It was clearly a game they didn't give a shit about. And I mentioned this to Adam yesterday on the deeper dive. They have Orlando to close out the season. I believe they only need to win one of those. So,
yeah, but you would think they'd want to win this one.
Which one?
Today.
Sure. Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is have to win the last one.
Exactly. I'm saying why yesterday was just like you could clearly see they weren't in it. It didn't matter to them. Like, okay, Miami's a pretty decent team. Maybe we can just go into Orlando tomorrow. And you know what, Josh? Maybe they lose back-to-back games against Orlando. Wouldn't that be something? But the odds of that happening are astronomical. And we'll see what happens today. All the starters got limited run yesterday in that blowout loss. We'll start with Orlando, though. Mo Bamba's questionable. Everyone else here where you see those out, or you see they're done for the year, so we don't need to talk about any of that. Is there anything against Philly that is even semi-worthwhile? Because, I don't see it.
No, you don't play anybody from Orlando. If Embiid and Simmons and Harris happen to get ruled out, then maybe you get to a little bit of Orlando, but they're playing everybody 24 minutes. Don't play anybody from the Magic.
Look at the aggregate ownership on Orlando right now.
Yeah, it's higher than my sim odds, I think. Yeah. No, it's straight nothing across the board. Cole Anthony on FanDuel is 4,800. That's it.
I'm so tempted to say that I want to roster some Joel Embiid in this spot. And he could.
Why did he play yesterday?
What's up?
Why did he play yesterday?
Because I told you what his post-game presser said, what he said the other day. You remember? Where he's like, I just want to play and I want to be in shape, the best shape. I don't want to sit. He sat the other day probably because he wasn't in good enough shape to play, but I don't know. Played 25 minutes.
I didn't think he was going to play yesterday. He wasn't with the team or whatever was the report earlier in the day. I took him out and then he shows up. And the way that I saw the video of him warming up, he was just kind of like dribbling and shooting the shit. I was like, oh, he's not doing anything. And then 2 minutes later, it was like, Joel Embiid is in. And then he played like garbage.
Dude, I honestly think he treated that as a pickup game, like a rec game.
Yeah, I just like, why get warmed? I don't get it.
You know, it's amazing though. He averaged less than a half a fantasy point per minute.
It was terrible. He was truly terrible. And here's the problem. He's 9,600 on FanDuel today. What do you do with that against Orlando?
I know.
How does Mo Bamba slow him down if Bamba's out there?
He doesn't. He's a 1.65 DraftKings point per minute producer. Like Joel Embiid is an elite fantasy producer when he's out there.
Yeah.
I have a feeling you and I are going to be playing a lot of Joel Embiid in the postseason, like a lot of him. Because if he starts,
he's the third best fantasy point per minute guy in the league,
behind Russ and Giannis, or behind Giannis and Doncic.
Giannis and Jokic, actually.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah, but Doncic has to be real close to that.
He's fourth.
Okay, yeah. Westbrook's fifth.
Harden, then LeBron, then Russ.
Minutes are everything, baby.
Yeah.
But I bet if you took it over the last like month and a half or 2 months, Russ would be top three.
It'd be a little bit higher, yeah.
My thinking though with Joel Embiid is right now there's no incentive to play him a lot of minutes because I think Doc Rivers runs him 38 minutes in regulation in close games in the postseason, and that's what you have to. That's what they're planning for. So against Orlando, 14-point favorites. Is there some appeal there? Yes, but he's going to have to, like, here's what I see happening tonight, Josh. Joel Embiid has 30 and 12 in 3 quarters, but still only gives you like 55, which isn't awful. But on a night like tonight, I think you can do better.
55 is the target score exactly on FanDuel. So good shooting that out. If he plays 30 minutes, he needs 1.83 fantasy points per minute to hit that mark. He can certainly do that in 30 minutes with very little effort against Orlando. The way that I think Joel Embiid gets there on a day like today is blocking a shit ton of shots where you don't have to worry about getting the rest of that volume. And Orlando, not exactly bringing the great creation to the game today.
Yeah. Richard says, Laffy, pretty sure it was 2016-17 when salaries didn't change. 99% sure it was when the Isaiah Thomas Celtics were playing the Wiz in the first round. You could be right. That actually sounds about right. 16-17. So that would have been what, like 5 years ago? Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Makes sense. So is there, and just to be clear, Josh, Joel Embiid on FanDuel, you mentioned this, but he's 9,600. I do think that's different than 10-4 on DraftKings. Yep. So anything else here? Do you want to get to your boy, Ben Simmons?
I mean, Simmons and Harris on FanDuel at 7,500 and 6,900 are the only other viable options. I don't want anything else from Philly for sure, unless we get other guys ruled out. I don't want those guys on DraftKings at all, but like $6,900 Tobias Harris on FanDuel against Orlando, revenge narrative potentially. I get it. I just like the minutes part of this is so concerning because if they're up by 20 heading into some part of the third quarter, those guys are done. The game officially means nothing at that point in time. And they're definitely not playing on Sunday.
How many 50 fantasy point games do you think Ben Simmons has over the last 2 calendar months?
I don't know, 1, 0.
He does have 1. I would assume it was that Utah game. Maybe that was even.
I would imagine.
That. I don't know. You want to move on to Utah and OKC?
No, but it's really the Utah side's super easy. You don't play anybody.
I mean, if you want to stick with the Sixers in Orlando, we can do that too, but we're not in a great spot here.
It's all bad.
Utah coming into this one again, another huge spread, 14-point road favorites against the Thunder, 221.5 point total. Mike Conley, questionable for this one. He's missed the last couple of games. Donovan Mitchell is still out. Jordan Clarkson, I mean, he's been pretty solid. It's just the price continues to climb. And even if Conley's out, I guess we'd have to ask ourselves whether or not it's worth it. And the sixth man a lot of times is the one that gets hurt the most in blowouts because he gets a shortened second half rotation and then just doesn't play at all in the fourth. I mean, if you think this game stays close, sure. I try not to predict blowouts, but this late in the season with these type of games, it's really hard for me just to ignore that.
I mean, the Thunder have been getting beat by 25 every night for like 2.5 months. So there's that. Look, I gave all of the starters for Utah 30 minutes. They are not playing the full run of this game against Oklahoma City. It's just not happening. I gave Mike Conley 26 minutes because I do think they just want to see him get out there and get a little bit of run, get used to playing again. It'll be like a pickup game. If you want to get to Rudy Gobert for 7,700 on FanDuel, I think go for it. I can't pay 6,200 for Bojan Bogdanovic at 19% ownership because I don't expect these guys to play in the fourth quarter. There's just no incentive for it. Yes, it is good. Like the Jazz want to win this game. They do not have to bring their A game or their B game or even their C game to beat Oklahoma City. It's just gross. It's a really difficult spot to want to go to.
Best record in the league, Utah Jazz.
Look at their point differential.
Absurd.
They're at plus 10.8. Next closest team is the Clippers at plus 7.3.
Wow. Well, it's going to get a little better tonight after they face the Oklahoma City Thunder. So
I look at cleaning the glass, which throws out garbage time. So, since half of this game will be garbage time, maybe it's not going to move as much as you would like it to be.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter to me, but
no, they're Oklahoma City doesn't.
They don't even have Lou Dort tonight. Ty Jerome's questionable. So just think about some of these players. Darius Bazley is the highest priced player on the team because you have no SGA. Teo Maladone, Moses Brown, Alexei Pogostic, Isaiah Roby. Then you get into guys like Gabriel Deck. These are when we get into legit creative players, right? Jalen Horde, Mikhail Luke, Tony Bradley, Charlie Brown. I mean, there's a Charlie Brown on this team, bro. This is where we've come.
It's Snoopy and Linus and Pigpen and all those other assholes too. Might as well. What do you do? A Pogo Stick's 4,100 on FanDuel and 4,200 on DraftKings. Like, sure. Is he going to play 28 to 30 minutes? I'll take a shot at that at 5% ownership on FanDuel. After that, I don't know, $3,900 Isaiah Roby on FanDuel is probably worth like 5%. Moses Brown for 4,800 because I don't know, can he stay in the game without getting into foul trouble? Maybe. How do you pick out of this stuff? Who plays?
Yeah,
decide your own play. I don't know. Who's the backup point guard then? Gabriel Deck. Well, if Gabriel Deck's the backup point guard at 3,900, that might not be too shabby. But Pogo Stick is the only guy that I actually like from the Thunder today.
And even if Moses Brown can stay out of foul trouble, you've still got Rudy Gobert out there, which isn't exactly a pleasant matchup. So,
I mean,
I don't know, man.
Tony Bradley's 3,100 on DraftKings. There are stranger things in life than him getting 24 minutes today and becoming a value play. Revenge narrative as well.
Yes, there is. We're halfway through the show. Time to talk to you about No House Advantage, sponsor of the Strategy Show. I think a lot of you guys are familiar with No House Advantage. You've played there. You've probably won money over there. We just had one of our viewers and subs take down first and second in that big 5K up top contest just the other day. But if you haven't checked it out yet, it is peer-to-peer prop betting. Not like these other books where you're just betting singles against the house. This is peer-to-peer, where it's a tournament-style format, guaranteed prize pool format. You put the props that you like the best at the top. They earn the most points. The ones you like the least or you feel least confident about at the bottom. But the coolest part about all this, and I think this is the most important part, is we have tools that we created, that Alex Baker, Awesemo himself, created specifically for No House Advantage. The No House Advantage player prop tool, which takes our projections and throws them up against whatever the prop is over on No House Advantage, which they do not change throughout the day. That's huge, right? No matter how many people put them in their lineups, unlike other books where the amount of money or bets that come in can swing the line one way or the other. Doesn't happen here. You can get a legitimate edge by studying these and figuring out which lines are stale and which ones are bad. We also have the optimal lineups tool, totally free. You don't even have to be a sub over at awesemo.com. Use these to your advantage. Use them when building your lineups because they're free. You also get $20 when you sign up using the promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO. So all in all, there's no reason not to check it out. You get some free money when you sign up a deposit for the first time. You get the free tools all the time. They're always free. And these smaller sites, right, that are just starting up, they're looking for you to have some success and really enjoy your time there. So you stick around on the site. Download the app, No House Advantage. Use the promo code Awesemo and use the tools that we've got free at your disposal over at awesemo.com. Win some money over at No House Advantage. Beat your friends, not the house. No House Advantage. All right, dude. Toronto, OKC, Siakam, Van Vliet, Lowry, OG Anunoby, Watanabe, just everybody. It's madness here. I thought you were doing that Elmo thing. You know the Elmo gif where the fire is behind him?
Mm-mm.
Yes, you do. Yes, you absolutely do. It's like super famous gif or GIF, depending on who you ask.
Oh, it's GIF. I
mean, you have to know that.
I don't.
You don't see it right now?
No, I see it. It doesn't ring a bell to me.
That's crazy. It's everywhere. But okay. Anyway, it looked like you were doing that, kind of just raising hell here. Eternal hellfire.
I'm more of a tickle me Elmo guy.
What's that?
More of a tickle me Elmo guy.
Were you out buying them up? The Toys R Us back in the day?
I did go with my dad to the toy store to get a Tickle Me Elbow for a family friend's daughter. I was like, I don't know, probably like 9 at that time. So I didn't even want that
shit. Like they were sold out everywhere. They were egregiously expensive. Who cares? It's so strange how those things become exceedingly popular for no reason at all.
Especially when it's a gift for someone with no memory. Like you're buying a Tickle Me Elbow for a 4-year-old. They don't know that they didn't get that. Their friends aren't rubbing it in their faces when they like. That's not how that works.
Exactly.
Like, I've stood in line for like flat screen TVs and laptops and stuff because that has utility for my life. I mean, back in the day, at least. Tickle Me Elbow for a 3-year-old. They don't know that they didn't get it. Just get like Tickle Me Relmo or something. Buy it at the Dollar General.
Exactly. Are you even allowed to make Tickle Me anything these days?
Depends on what part of the country you're in, probably.
I'm not entertaining that conversation. Toronto, everyone expected to be out. Well, all of the guys that I just rattled off are expected to be out. What are we doing with the rest of this team against Dallas today? Oh, and if I didn't mention, Josh, another game with a double-digit spread. They're 12.5-point dogs in Dallas.
Okay, so we got a lot to talk about here that I think is actually important. I think Yuta Watanabe, of everybody that played yesterday, is the most likely to sit because he actually did get hurt yesterday. I don't know what his status is going to be. Keep an eye on it. And before anybody does anything else, you need to pay attention to the starting lineup for these games. All bets are off. Whoever's starting immediately becomes safe-ish. If you're not starting, like Gary Trent yesterday, you should probably not have them in your lineups any longer unless they are guys that still always play, like Freddie Gillespie, for instance. So I think Chris Boucher plays today. He was out to start the day, then turned into questionable. Then he was activated, and then he got the DNP CD.
Can I say something real quick?
Go for it.
The telltale sign there too was Chris Boucher is available to play. I know sometimes that language can be confusing, but if you see that, not will play, not starting, but available to play, just take caution, take heed, because that a lot of times means they're there because there's a lot of guys, they're there for an emergency situation. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think they wanted to play him potentially on a back-to-back so that he was active. The moment you see that he's not starting, that's when you get away from someone like Chris Boucher. I think that if he plays today, he probably starts. We saw him play 30 plus minutes, whatever it was, 3-4 days ago. You got to keep your eye on that piece. My assumption is that Aaron Baines now doesn't play. So I think that Boucher and Baines flip-flop their roles from yesterday. I also think that Gary Trent plays today. I don't think that they wanted to play both of them on the back-to-back. And if Watanabe really can't play, then I do think that Trent gets back out there, gets into the starting lineup, all that good stuff. So Stanley Johnson is the flat minimum on FanDuel. He went smiggity smash yesterday.
35 and 10.
14% Stanley Johnson yesterday. It was the linchpin to everything that I had going on.
Nice. You got the best game of his career, and he very likely tallied as many fantasy points last night as he has combined on the season prior to that game.
Yeah. And it's all from, you see the starting lineup. He's in the starting lineup. Gary Trent's not in the starting lineup. You got to make your changes, and then you got to hope for the best. It becomes a lot of leverage in those spots.
Oh, so you go back to the well tonight?
For the flat minimum on FanDuel, absolutely. Especially if you see Stanley Johnson's name in the starting lineup, 28 minutes, 0.8 fantasy points per minute. You roll the dice, you take the shot because he could eat that time up. I have very little interest in guys like Khem Birch because those guys, there's no upside to them. They're already priced at their minute ceiling. So Malachi Flynn, once again, 5,600 on FanDuel, 6K on DraftKings. For some reason, we haven't projected in single digits in ownership. That doesn't make a lick of sense. If he's playing 32 minutes or more. I think he played like 40 last night. He should be very highly owned. I like going to Stanley Johnson on FanDuel. I like him a little bit less at 4K on DraftKings. And I'd like getting back to Gary Trent Jr. if he starts on FanDuel, still just 4,900.
Okay. What about the Dallas Mavericks starting with Luka?
So they still have stuff to play for. If things go wrong, they can fall into the play-in. So winning is important. It shouldn't be that hard to win because they're playing Toronto. I think you can only roster two guys, Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis, but you have to treat both of those guys with kid gloves. Porzingis is 8,600 on DraftKings. You can fully ignore him, X him out, whatever you want to do. He's 6,800 on FanDuel, though. And at power forward for 6,800, if he plays 28 minutes, I think that he can get there, especially in a matchup against the Raptors where there's no other talent on the floor. Khem Birch probably not going to be the guy that guards him. And, I don't think we're going to name anybody else that even has a chance. He's going to be able to get every shot off with like 9 inches of space from his release point. It's kind of bonkers.
Kristaps Porzingis has been virtually unplayable on DraftKings in recent memory. Like he's just mispriced. And maybe you could argue that he's mispriced on FanDuel, but I think he's closer to 6,800 right now than 8,600 on DraftKings.
100% agree with you. He's only been a fantasy point per minute over the last 30 days. Hasn't been good. I don't know what you think Luka does here. I gave him 32 minutes. At 32 minutes, 1.5 fantasy points per minute. He shows up in the optimal lineup 25% of the time on FanDuel, 15 on DK. The fact that he's projected for 35% ownership on DraftKings, I'd very much like to be under that number because I just don't. A lot of ownership. I just don't think he's out there enough.
Look, I don't disagree with you. Again, 5 games with double-digit spreads. Of course, Denver's at 9.5 in some spots, but there are going to be some games that get out of hand quickly. The problem, and I get this question all the time, is like, hey, can I try and pick guys for garbage time? There's just no need on slates like this because you're going to get guys that get full minutes no matter what the score is. So don't try and get cute with garbage time on good teams winning in blowout fashion because the other team, you could probably start any of their 5 starters and have a better play.
Yeah.
Who do we have next? We got the LA Clippers and Houston Rockets. So first things first is, do we think that Paul George and Kawhi Leonard sit today? I don't see any way they play. I know that Ty Lue came in and said that he's unsure if they play, but I don't see it.
I have them out. I don't feel comfortable with it, but look, winning is still important for the Clippers. They are going to be double-digit favorites against Houston, whether Kawhi Leonard and Paul George play or not. So there doesn't seem to, especially on a back-to-back too. To me, there's not a lot of utility in it, which means we actually like a lot of the Clippers. Marcus Morris, 4,300 on FanDuel. One of my favorite plays. He's 5,600 on DraftKings, and he's still a 20%er to me. Luke Kennard is 3,400 on DraftKings. I assume he is one of the best plays on DK if those guys get ruled out. Reggie Jackson sees increased minutes when those guys don't play. He's 4,200 and 4,400. Nick Batum is 3,600 on DraftKings because it becomes a really nice value option. Zubac probably priced appropriately, but against Houston, probably a pretty good spot for him. We can really dominate the board. So I think he is appropriately priced. If we see anybody else in the starting lineup, like if Terrence Mann ends up being a starter at 3,900, I think you can go that way. Who knows? Like they could sit Ivica Zubac. We saw that report like a week ago that they wanted to try to get him rest and couldn't. Would you be surprised if DeMarcus Cousins was the starting center of the Clippers today in a revenge matchup against the Rockets? Because I certainly wouldn't. And at 3,500, I'd play him too. Lots to like on the Clippers tonight.
I wouldn't just play him if he starts. I would have DeMarcus Cousins everywhere. He could play 20 minutes and still give you 40. I mean, listen, people hate DeMarcus Cousins because they say he's washed. And like in real basketball sense, yeah, the guy blew out his Achilles shortly after ripping his quad apart. You know, or it might have been his hammy. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. We saw it shrivel up into his leg. Like the guy has dealt with a lot of injuries. There have to be some lower expectations here, but at the same time, he's still a 1.31 fantasy point per minute guy who can, whether it helps his team or not, it doesn't, score, rack up rebounds. He's a good passer. He can block shots and he can get steals. He's a 5 category guy. As a matter of fact, if you want to work in 3-pointers, he's only a 35% 3-point shooter, but he will take them and sometimes he'll knock them down. If DeMarcus Cousins starts here, and we're just, you know, hypothetically, if he starts, I'm not even worried about the minutes, honestly, at that price. He's too cheap.
No, and they're basically playing a G League team too, so that helps.
You know, I was searching for a comment on Google right now for Stephen Silas that I saw the other day. Basically, and I'm paraphrasing, saying how, you know, despite how bad the season is, I couldn't be happier. And sure, you know, you're gonna set yourself up relatively nicely going forward. But I couldn't find, all I came across was articles saying like 3 reasons why Stephen Silas shouldn't be fired. And then another one, well, why would you fire him after this season? Everybody's been hurt.
There's a 0% chance he gets fired.
But I'm saying, why are there even articles on that? Like, why are we even entertaining that outside of clickbait? Like, and I get clickbait, don't get me wrong. It's it. Like, if you were to fire him, given what they've gone through this season, that's the craziest thing in the world.
He would never fire him because unless there's like some sort of scandal, you know, like
but he hasn't done anything wrong.
Great. No, and he's a legend his dad is a legend in the NBA. Tillman Fertitta is not going to pay 2 coaches at the same time. He's a cheap ass. There's no way. Stephen Silas will be there until the time that he plays out that contract because there's no way that he's cutting 2 checks for the same job. He's a tightwad.
Yeah. I wouldn't know anything about that. All I know is that he hasn't really done anything wrong this year, and he hasn't really been able to do anything right because of what this team has looked like. And again, tonight, Christian Wood out, Kevin Porter out, Eric Gordon, we said this like 2 weeks ago. There's no way he was coming back. Sterling Brown, Daniel House, Nwaba, John Wall, Avery Bradley, Dante Exum, DJ Wilson.
They have 8 bodies.
Yeah, just going down the entire list of all the guys that have been out, are now out, and remain out. They are shorthanded massively once again. And, well, how much – no, and another thing, Kelly Olynyk probably only plays like 25, 27 minutes. He's been fantastic from a per-minute standpoint. Like, don't look at the fantasy totals. Look at his per-minute numbers since all of this has gone down. He's been amazing. It just sucks that he's not getting full allotment of minutes because at 8,200, I'd play him everywhere.
I gave him 30 minutes, and that makes him not appealing. So you really do need all those minutes. 1.28 FanDuel points per minute over the past 30 days. Look, Kyrie Thomas is the unquestioned best play on Houston. He's 5,800 on both sites. I got him in for 35 minutes. He could play 40 today. And I assume the Clippers look like a much better matchup when Paul George and Kawhi Leonard aren't on the floor. So grab yourself some Kyrie Thomas. I think Kenyon Martin Jr. for 7,500 and 7K is the second best option. He's picking up a bit of love. Jayshawn Tate is 5,500 on FanDuel, 6,400 on DK. I like him a lot more on FanDuel than DraftKings. And then you just cross your fingers. Is it Anthony Lamb? Is it Brooks? Is it DJ Augustine? You probably need shares of everybody from Houston outside of maybe Cameron Oliver. But Kyrie Thomas and Kenyon Martin Jr. are going to make up a lot of my lineups today.
Kelly Olynyk, 1.47 DraftKings points per minute over his last 10 games. Yeah, really good. Really good. If you were to take the last 2 weeks, I'm assuming it's even better. So it would be since May 1st, 1.51. Like, he's been really good. It's just the minutes aren't there right now, and understandably so. Anything else you want to hit on for the Rockets?
No.
Okay. Fair to me. Tyler, Xander producing the show. Let's pull up our Awesemo Hall of Fame here and make things happen. We like to brag for our viewers, rocking this logo right here, the avatar, over at all of the variety of sites, coming in and getting their free month. Not only getting their name up here on the board, but also getting that free month is what makes us all happy. If you want to get the free month, $99, $95 or $99 value, pretty much $100 value, go to awesemo.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Awesemo Hall of Fame and win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. If you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, we got you. You win that and you win the money. $2,000 right here. Andrew Sidney, first place. Gotta love it. 354 score. Another one you've got coming up. I can't read these.
I can't read it either.
It's very, very frustrating. Not your fault, Tyler, but we got to make these bigger. Emmett 18. I was happy about this because he always tweets us, always interacting on Twitter. Took down 2K here, first place, and I was super stoked to see that. Wade EA, another one coming in with a big one, 150 in the pinch hit. The hits keep on rolling in. They just keep coming in. First and third place on this one. You know, this is, someone said the other day, Jess, they were like, and this is Smoking Cutler, congratulations, 1,500 and 300 in the mini max. Someone said the other day, they tweeted us, like, I was listening to the show and Josh and Lavi said maxing entries or doing MME is not profitable. I'm here to show you that it is. And he had a big win and I was happy for him and all that good stuff. But that's not what we said. So we said that if it's done in a way where you have no idea what you're doing, it's not profitable, or in the sense that if someone says all you have to do is MME to win, that's just a lie. But no, you're muted. Or no, you're not.
We're good. On a day-to-day basis, you're most likely going to lose money playing 150 max in a large field contest. In the long term, they are profitable. Your EV is still higher, but on every individual slate, the goal is to win 100K so that you can have 90 more losing slates.
Crazy. Yeah, I know. Look, it is. I'm happy to see everybody win. And we have a lot of people that are even maxing like the piggy bank or the mini max and winning it a lot.
Yeah.
You see them all the time on this Hall of Fame page. I don't care what your entry size is. And even if you're in the nickel or the quarter or the dime or the whatever it is, if you finish top 3 out of 5,000 field or more, you still get the $100 value Awesemo Plus. That's everything on the site. Ownership, player projections, top stack tool, lineup builder, the boomer bust tool for all sports, not just basketball, baseball, MMA, NASCAR, PGA, NFL, when it comes back around, all of that stuff. So if you want to see everything else we have, go to awesemo.com/join. Oh no, you know what, Josh? I totally forgot. We have the Gold Rush promo.
I don't know what that is.
Good time to throw that out. 25% off the entire month of Awesemo Plus, everything included.
That's one of the better deals we run. I haven't had to do a read since we've had it. It's
Gold Rush, one more. And you know why it's Gold Rush? I'll tell you why. I was told this by our marketing guys, because you have the NHL playoffs coming up. You have NBA playoffs coming up. You have MLB in full swing. You have PGA going on right now. You get UFC. It's like a million different sports. So if you're doing this and you're getting your 25% off at awesemo.com/promos, very simple. You can just click on the promo. You're getting as many sports as you want every single day. Like, this is as good a value you're going to get at any point of the season or the calendar year.
And then take that savings, head to Bovada and get into Gold Rush Gus, man. I put a lot into those slots, baby. Gold Rush Gus is my dude. Swinging that pickaxe, get those gems. It's good stuff.
Gold Rush Gus is that's a Pennsylvania thing.
I don't know. Is it?
Yeah, I mean, I thought so. Like Punxsutawney Phil.
That would be way more interesting than Punxsutawney Phil to me if it was just some little guy with a pickaxe that showed up with gold.
Yeah, no,
some ground rat. Oh, he sees his shadow. Get back in the hole, rat.
Do you get Gold Rush Gus commercials?
No, I don't. I don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
What do you mean for the slot machine thing? Like as an ad on Instagram?
There's like a Gold Rush Gus or a Gus whatever that is like the Pennsylvania Like he's on all the lottery commercials, the scratch offs and stuff.
Scratch off. Well, no, I don't get a lot of Pennsylvania scratch offs in North Carolina. So
that's what I'm saying. I couldn't believe that you were familiar with old Gus. You're a cultured man. Sacramento and Memphis. Let's talk about this one. Again, awesemo.com/promos. Every sport included in this. If you want to do that, 25% off. Use the promo code GOLDRUSH, all one word. Sacramento and Memphis, Josh. You have the Memphis Grizzlies here as 6-point favorites, 226.5 total. Sacramento playing their second of a back-to-back, and Memphis also playing their second of a back-to-back today. So both of these teams may be on tired legs heading into the clubhouse.
One of these teams won't be, I don't think. So here's the deal, and this is something that I didn't know on the process show, and I want to talk about it now. The game for the Grizzlies and the Warriors today is meaningless. I know that they were both jockeying for the 8 seed and the 9 seed, but they play on Sunday and the tiebreaker is up in the air. So whoever wins on Sunday, no matter the outcome of these games, whoever wins on Sunday gets the 8 seed, the loser gets the 9 seed. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a bunch of guys sit for Memphis. Like Jaren Jackson Jr. is 100% not playing today for Memphis. I'd be shocked if Joe Val plays. At that point in time, you might as well sit a couple other guys. So we might have Memphis with all sorts of value showing up against the Sacramento team that's the worst defense in the league, that is likely without Rashawn Holmes, who got injured yesterday. This could be bonkers, and we might not know any of it for a while. I don't really know for sure, but we're going to be getting to a lot of Sacramento. I think we're going to be getting to a ton of Memphis if this breaks the way that I think it will.
Well, if that is the case and it breaks the way that you're assuming, what do you think ownership looks like on these guys?
So we'll start on the Sacramento side, where Metu is projected for 41% ownership on DraftKings. He's going to be chalk all day, no matter what happens, whether Holmes is in or not. But I'm expecting Holmes to not play. He's going to be a free agent this season. He left yesterday's game early. They're not bringing him back. I can't imagine they're bringing him back, at least. Metu for 4,200 on FanDuel. He's center eligible, only projected for 8K. I would happily still get there. I think he should be twice as owned. DeLon Wright and Buddy Hield still very much in play for me, particularly Buddy Hield on FanDuel. He's only 7K. He's $1,000 more expensive on DK. I don't think we see any more craziness coming out of the Kings, and I don't think anybody else is really all that interesting outside of the assumption is Damian Jones would start at center for the Kings, and if that's the case, he's 3,300. I think he's an okay value play for the Kings.
Okay. Now, anything else you want to hit on from either side of this one? Do we want to get into Memphis a little more?
I don't think that there's anything that we could really say for Memphis because we just have no concept of who's going to play. Like if DeAnthony Melton starts, played a ton of DeAnthony Melton sub 4K. If Morant is out, I'm guessing Tyus Jones at 3,100 on DraftKings because becomes one of the most popular guys on the slate. Xavier Tillman, 3,900 on FanDuel, 4,200 on DraftKings. If Joe Val is out, if Brandon Clark is out, if obviously Jaren Jackson Jr. is just not playing today. That one I feel doesn't matter about the status. He's not playing the back-to-back. So someone like Tillman could become a fantastic play. There's going to be a lot of value coming out of Memphis. There's just no way to know it right now.
That's why we have the live before lock, Josh. That's why we have the deeper dive. That's why we have the tip-off show. All of that coming up later today. And you just look, you got the process show to start you off right in the morning at 6:30. You got the contenders short form video. Yeah, well, today was an exception to the rule, but generally speaking, you're doing pretty good. You got the MLB strategy show actually just kicked off a few minutes ago. Then the deeper dive for baseball. Then we get into the meat and potatoes of the basketball night to tip off 4 p.m. to 5 o'clock. That's Spags, Ben, and Kayla. They do a great job. They talk betting. They talk baseball, basketball. It's a really fun show to lead you into the deeper dive with Ryan and so Rimpack and Adam, and then Greg and Eric. So you got the night off.
I do. They don't put me on Fridays, baby. I go home. I sit on the couch.
Very
nice. I'm going to play this slate because I'm ready to just burn it all down. But Katie's out of town. She's got a horse competition, so I got nothing but time.
An old horse competition, huh?
Yep.
You have an Arabian, right?
If only, man. If only.
You know, I never cared much.
If I did, I'd be riding into town, roping people up and stuff.
Feeding them to the gators.
Yeah.
I never had cared much for horses until I played Red Dead Redemption, and they killed my horse at the end, and I just wanted to die. Let me tell you, that was a sad moment, Josh.
I can still picture messaging you about it, but when it happened, I was like, he's going to get back up, right? I had a bad day.
Dude, it was tough.
No bullshit.
It was when it wasn't John Marston. It's what's his name? I
don't know. You become John Marston. Spoiler alert, you become John Marston.
Yeah, but before that, why can I not remember his name? What's his name, Tyler?
Dude, I didn't know what I had for lunch yesterday for 5 minutes. You think I remember this shit from a year ago?
Dude, this is embarrassing now.
Which character are we speaking about?
The main character.
Oh.
Chat will tell me right now. It's fine. They're going to tell me right now because they always come through in the clutch. Anyway.
Arthur Morgan.
What's that?
Arthur Morgan.
Thank you. Yep. When Arthur kneels down and thanks that horse for, oh my God, that was tough.
So I would have this entire room be super dark. I'd have my cans on right now. So the only thing that I'm experiencing is just that game.
Amazing.
I am him.
Amazing.
It was not good. I'm crying and shit.
Do you see this thing back there? It looks like wood. That's a Red Dead Redemption carved map right there. Red Dead Redemption 2. And
God, what a great game.
I don't even play video games. And I say that like seriously, I've told you I don't play video games. Red Dead Redemption, I was sucked in. I just absolutely loved it.
You told me it was incredible. I immediately bought it and then I lost weeks of my life.
Yeah. And when we're 50, Red Dead Redemption 3 will be out.
The worst part, the most ridiculous part of it all is I would never go fishing on my leisure. There were times where I would just open that game and fish for like 4 hours.
I would go on wicked killing sprees.
Oh yeah, the murder's great.
Dude,
the murder is the best part.
I'd take those sawed-offs, go limb for limb, and boy, was that fun. Tumble you down the cliffside. Hey, hit that thumbs up, guys. Oh. We got one game to go here. Appreciate all of you for sticking with us throughout the season, throughout the day, every single show. We couldn't do this without you. It really does help support us when you subscribe, you hit that thumbs up to the channel and everything like that as well. You'd be surprised how much of a difference it makes in being able to help us keep doing what we're doing here.
Yeah.
All right, man. Let's close it out. This is it, dude. This is it.
Let's try.
New Orleans, Golden State. The interesting thing about this game with New Orleans still actually dogs 2.5 points, 228.5 total, is that this game doesn't mean shit. So Sunday's game between these very two teams is what matters. This game doesn't matter at all. So who's going to play, who won't play. And I wish this wasn't a 9:30 tip off in the last game on the slate.
Yeah. So I think the Pelicans are pretty easy to talk about because I assume that they're going with what amounts to the same rotation that they had last game. Brandon Ingram's not playing. Steven Adams isn't playing. There's no incentive for any of these veterans to play. So I think we're going pretty heavily to Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Najee Marshall. I think James Johnson and Eric Bledsoe on FanDuel are both 10 to 15 percenters. You could take a shot on like a $3,500 Kira Lewis, which I don't think is too crazy. You could take a shot on whoever starts at center for the Pelicans. But Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Najee Marshall, to me, are the very clear best options coming from the Pels.
Okay. And yeah, we just have to pay attention to news. What's going to happen? Like, could this be a game where the guys that rarely get minutes just get a ton of minutes tonight?
I think all bets are off in this game.
Okay. Like, could Kira Lewis play 35 minutes,
Yeah, I mean, well,
I'm not saying you could ever project him for that. I'm just,
He could. Yeah, he could. Like Eric Bledsoe can play 18 minutes today.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking as well. Not saying he will, but there's a possibility that him and an older James Johnson only plays a few minutes too.
Yep, 100%.
How about Golden State, Josh?
So I was unaware of this news that the game is meaningless until post my prep. So my assumption is that we do not see Steph Curry, Draymond Green, like most of the real players, Andrew Wiggins. I don't think that those guys are going to play. So we're going to be preparing with Chalk Jordan Poole, 5K on FanDuel, 4,100 on DraftKings, Bazemore, Juan Toscano Anderson, Michael Mulder. These guys are going to be popping like crazy because I just don't think that we're going to see Curry, Wiggins, or Draymond. They're not going to have a lot of bodies left after that. So feel free to play aggressively anyone that we are expecting to be the starters for the Golden State Warriors tonight. You're muted.
I had a wicked sneeze while you were talking. So what do we do?
Well, they have, okay, so if Curry, Wiggins, Draymond, and Looney all sit.
And Oubre's already out. We know that. So just to throw out another starter that is gone as well. So all the starters could be out.
If Curry, Wiggins, Draymond, and Looney sit, they have 8 active bodies. Bazemore, Juan Toscano-Anderson, Jordan Poole, Mulder, Jordan Bell, Eric Paschall, Nico Mannion, and Alan Smailagic.
Nice pronunciation there.
Thank you. You play everyone that starts as much as you can. Bazemore, Toscano-Anderson, Poole would be the 3 guys that I would say would be the immediate priorities.
All right. I think
who the hell knows? Hopefully we get that information before 7:00.
We will. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. I can't guarantee it, but I do believe that this is one of those spots where you're talking about rest. I think we'll get information sooner than later on the Warriors. I think, maybe 3:00 or so. I think we'll have it. These aren't injuries. Usually when it comes down to rest, the decision is made and we find out. So we'll see whether they're in or out. But I will say Steve Kerr is the type of guy to say, yep, they're all playing too. He's done that quite often where just everyone plays.
Yeah. Eric Paschall is potentially back. I don't know how much he could play. He hasn't played in forever. So I don't know.
Well, we'll see what happens. You got anything else from this one?
No. You just have to pay attention to it.
Okay.
By the way, John Talon, Jordan Bell is on the Golden State Warriors. So,
yeah, he is. All of our shows, check them out in podcast form. If you don't want to listen on the YouTubes, wouldn't blame you. If you wanted to check it out in podcast, go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever podcasts are available. You can find Awesemo, AWESEMO, and leave us a review, leave us a rating. It helps us greatly. We're appreciative of all of you guys hanging out this season. This is my last one for the regular season, but I'll be back for some postseason action. Josh will be here on Sunday to break down a 15-game. Oh, no. Did you get off that?
I have a 5-game live before lock from 12 to 1. So they cut this. The schedule is not at all what we were talking about. They've got 5 early games that lock at 1:00 and then a what is it? So 10-game slate locking at 7, like normal.
Oh, so because I was just going off what Shams Charania said.
Nope, that all went into the garbage. So I am doing live before lock from noon to 1:00 on Sunday with Terry, and then we're gonna have a live before lock then from 6 to 7. I don't know who the hell's on it.
Easy stuff, man.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you guys. Street Preacher will catch you later as well, and all you other guys in chat and girls and everyone that just watches lurking in the shadows. We'll catch you back here sooner than later on the Strategy Show presented by No House Advantage.
Hell of a run, brother.
Hell of a run, fella. What a way to finish it.